And hello, we are back. We are back with episode 5 of season 5. Welcome to Paris. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you. It's good to be back, especially after last week. I'm, I'm much hyped this weekend. Much hyped.
Absolutely, yeah, we're definitely back on track with this one. So, shall we jump straight into it?
Let's go for it.
Awesome. Actually, I'll leave the closed caption on because it's kind of funny just to see some of the lines that they come up with.
Absolutely, yeah. The writing in this one was really to point. And I like what they did. They showed us this in the preview last weekend, and boy, I will say this: it jumps right into it. Beth basically lets them know, "Hey, I'm going to go birth some horses," and she finds out for some odd reason Rick and Jerry are having a guys' night, and that leads us to our A story, which is very interesting. And I guess should we just go right into it? It's basically a
Absolutely.
play. It's a play on the horror movies Hellraiser of the series, correct? I don't even know how many there are. I just remember seeing the first two and being terrified of them. So
I love the Hellraiser series. I think, again, like a lot of the series, it's a little bit long in the tooth. I think there's at least 6 Hellraisers, but the first 2 are awesome. And you're right, the episode kicks off, they're having a guys' night, and Beth is automatically suspicious because, as we all know, Rick does not like Jerry very much.
no, as a matter of fact, I think the last Jerry Rick episode we had was when Morty basically blackmailed Rick emotionally into spending some time with him and everything and all. And we go right from the garage to meeting them, which was interesting. I liked how when you see, are they? Am I pronouncing it right? It is Cinnabites, right? I'm trying to. It almost sounds
Cenobites.
like yes,
Yes.
like a dessert. But there's old Pinhead, but it's of course a different Pinhead, right? He's got the old inkwell fountain pens, and
Yes.
there's a guy
I
that
think
has
they call him Penhead. Yes.
yes. And they are there to see Jerry do karaoke tonight after Jerry opens the cube and summons them from hell. And we learn rather quickly because they basically tell Rick, look, you're paying off your debt because you sold us some bad flesh hooks. And we're here because we enjoy Jerry's cringe. And that's how they derive their pleasure. So that's how Rick's paying them back.
Yes, they're basically living off Jerry being kind of lame, and his lameness and embarrassing him gives them pleasure, of course. So Rick's not doing a good deed as always. He's just out for himself. But poor Jerry doesn't realise it. He thinks he's hanging out with a bunch of people that really like him.
Yes, which you think he'd be a little suspicious because they are from hell. I mean, you have to use a cube to summon them, but it goes right into that. And then I guess we have to talk about this simultaneously because this is truly a real solid B story going on, and it really does run pretty much in tandem. When Beth leaves after telling Jerry and Rick that they're going to have to watch him and they can't, she leaves Summer in charge, and of course Morty brings up the fact, well, even though we can't have a party like Beth said, I have a friend coming over, and we get introduced to a new character.
Yes, yes, and Summer's automatically interested because it's the new guy in school. He's got all this potential. He's got all this kind of mystique about him. He's got this street cred, and he can raise their social standing within the school if they become friends with him.
Absolutely, and that gentleman's name is Bruce Chuckback.
He's a very millennial type character, isn't he? He's definitely a bit of a walking stereotype.
Yes, I get that feeling. He's very disassociated. He's not sure if he really wants to be here, but he is. And of course, he's not really interested in hanging out with them in the house. He wants to go outside and check out, like most teenagers, the car. And he finds car fascinating. And this is where we really get another taste of an old friend that we haven't seen since she kept Summer safe.
Yes, I was always wondering whether we were going to see Carl back as an actual personality, as a character. And it was kind of nice to see it because I did not see it coming in this episode.
Not at all, because I'll be honest with you, when I was thinking about the episode, and I really kind of went back and said, oh, and I watched that episode again which was a great episode, right? They go into the battery and everything and all. If you watch that episode, is it car? Is it the security system? Well, now we know it's car. So they decide they're going to go take car out for a draw ride. Car basically relents because she's lied to and told that Rick is in danger. And you get a real vibe off of that, don't you? Of that kind of.
Yes. Did you think that was a kind of Asimov type of thing? Because she kind of somehow had to kind of get around it by basically using wordplay and trickery to kind of circumvent the um,
Well, I think it's
thing
that, and
that.
of course later on we find out too that it is a bit of a setup because we're kind of led to believe, and I think I had mentioned this before, that I get that vibe of the kind of Doctor Who TARDIS thing. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right, where Car's kind of in love with Rick and everything, so she's allowing this to go on to see how it plays out, but she's very aware of what's going on. So they're in a little bit of trouble, but not as much trouble as our friends from Hell are when Beth, who delivers the horses rapidly, like she says, which I think was a great callback to last week's episode too. Hey, it doesn't take a long time for a horse to give birth, and she finds out that they are there to make fun of her husband. And at first, she really takes up for Jerry. But did you notice what they did to kind of win her over? Purple.
Yes, yes. They basically said that Rick had said that she's much, much cooler and that they were very excited to get to meet her. So, in order to kind of impress them, she then kind of sides with them and starts making fun of Jerry, which I thought was a really mean thing to do.
It was terribly mean, but it is quintessential Beth. She wants daddy's, validation. And Jerry, unlike Jerry, finds out pretty rapidly, hey, they're there to make fun of me. And once they figure out that he's figured it out, they decide to abscond with him and go to hell.
Yes, pretty much use him as a battery to kind of charge themselves with his misery, if you will.
Absolutely. And when they use that little jump, we jump back to our B story, which we find out that Carr has turned the tables on Summer, Bruce, and Morty, and she's decided that she wants to have some fun. What are the fun that she had that you like? Because I thought it was pretty interesting.
I really like this scene that we've just pulled up, where again it seems to be they're taking a little bit of a shot at the MCU, where they kind of hook this Galactus type character and kill him, and then she says, "Damn it, it's too small," and just throws it back like a fish.
Absolutely. It's, I had to point this out. You're right. It seems like every little episode, including like episode one, we get kind of the Submariner vibe. Last week, they kind of made fun of the new Black Widow movie. And here we have Galactus being basically treated as, a second class citizen and not worthy enough for Carr. And Carr decides that after all this, that she's had enough fun with him and decides to let them have a last meal. She goes on some adventures, does some crazy stuff. And it was just an interesting play with what they did there too. Did you notice the other play on another trope and another IP out there? Did you catch what that was? It's pretty obvious, so I'm sure you did. Who Carr interacted with?
Was it the one with the Transformers? Because we do see those characters pop up a little bit later on in the episode as well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to point out this scene just before they take him to hell, how it's full, this karaoke bar of just normal people, and they're just completely ignoring these creatures. I just always think it's really funny for some reason.
It is, and I like too how they just start like wiping them out. The Hellraisers do, and Rick, even Jerry, Beth, they're just a little bit kind of like they're not surprised by it, right? There's like, oh, and a portal opens up and we could jump through.
So just quickly getting back to the other plot. So basically, Carr gets hit on by one of these, in quotes, transformer type characters. They decide to go to this party that he suggests they come to, and she disguises herself as one of them, basically, quite badly.
Yes, and her want is there. I don't know if you caught that or not. She wants to hook up. She wants to lose her Carr virginity.
Yes, I love Carr. Carr's an awesome character.
It is. So I guess Summer helped her out, like right in one of those kind of. We missed that montage. They didn't draw that for us, but that would have been interesting of her prepping Carr. But I guess they give Carr her fake head and everything, and it does not go well, shall we say, at the party, and that upsets Carr.
It does. So Carr turns quite homicidal. She takes out these characters, and then we're back to the A plot, which is pretty much where we stick for pretty much the rest of the episode. It's really about them. They get back into hell. They're trying to rescue Jerry. They meet pretty much all the other denizens and the guy that's in charge, and to kind of get them back. Actually, let me jump to this part as well because it's worth pointing out. They actually get arrested, and Carr has to break them out, which I thought was pretty funny as well.
Yes, once again saving them, but maybe so she could use them later, because she's not very impressed with Bruce Cutback at all. She's willing to sacrifice him.
Yes, and we did nearly get them to turn on him, but they Honor won out, and they said, we're taking him with us, right. Even though they didn't really have any reason to stay loyal.
Right, and then after that, we really don't see them again until their little end payoff at the end when everybody meets up again. But that's because we have to get back to Rick, where he's finally figured out how he's going to get him out of this situation. They managed to kind of escape within hell with Jerry, but in order to really escape and get past them all, they have to use the pleasure of pain against the hellion that are there. And how did they do that? I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes, basically they use one of the denizens against them. So instead of actually having pain felt as pleasure, pain is now felt as pain.
Yes, Rick did a weird science occultist thing and made a wheelchair Gatling gun where pain actually felt like pain, which of course had some great lines. Where's Advil teeth? Where's first aid head? And as you said to me before we came on, it was a funny joke, but perhaps a joke they used way too much.
Yeah, I think it ran a bit long, but as you say, there were some pretty good lines like this one. It hurts, but in a bad way. I thought that was pretty funny. So.
Yes, because they're used to it being their pleasure, and this time it's like, hey, wait, what happened here? So great way for them to make their escape. And they do. Basically, they let them go. They're like, you guys get out of here and everything. So they're able to cue back to the car, and we're right back in the alleyway outside the karaoke bar where we started.
Yes, and Rick really didn't learn anything, and neither did Jerry, because as he said, I won't do this again to you. Next time I'll just replace you. So
yes, we don't even get a little bit of begrudging respect from Rick. They kind of get in their car and drive home to, I guess, get back into the swing of things and to check on the kids. And of course, the kids barely beat them there. Car sends them inside. Yes. She decides she's going to wash the adventure off of her because Rick can detect that.
And it remains to be seen whether or not they actually get away with it, but it seems like they do.
It certainly does. And then we have the little payoff ending that Rick and Morty are there with Mr. Chuckback, and he lets them know that, hey, I'm going to have to see how this plays out at school. If your rep at school's okay, we can absolutely be friends. Then he meets their parents and doesn't seem to be too concerned with the fact that an interesting little visual gag there, a skull falls out. And did you notice what kind of skull it was?
Yes, it was a baby skull.
Which elicited even less of a response. But it was an interesting ending because it was kind of like everybody's there. And at first, I guess you figure, hey, we're not going to find out if Bruce Cutback accepts Morty and Summer as his buddies because we kick right into the credits.
Yes, and it seems that their attempts at social climbing is not going to happen this time because he embarrasses himself by wearing the same trousers 2 days in a row. Yes,
that he pointed out. I thought it was interesting. We've got a nice callback to the people we hadn't seen since maybe the first season. We have Trisha's friend who you would think gives Summer a little bit of credit. She seems to be a very popular young lady. But I think the end credit gave us one of the best visual jokes of the season, which is when we saw Summer, and this is even in the opening, hitting the mailbox people with bats. The mailbox people come back and exact their revenge by beating on Bruce Cutback with mailbox flags.
They do, yes. So poor Bruce, he doesn't learn a lesson, and he still, becomes a social pariah. So sucks to be him.
Absolutely. But overall, a much more joyous episode, a palate cleanser, shall we say,
Hmm.
from last week. And I'm going to give this one a much higher grade than I did last week. What about you?
I liked it. I think we're definitely back on track. I think last week's was a bit of a blip, but I would go with a 7 for this week.
And I'm going to go with an 8.
Nice. Awesome. That's fantastic. So we're definitely back where we were. Not quite as strong as the season started, but still an enjoyable episode. So
Right.
thank you. Thank you
No
so
problem.
much for joining me again. We've
Glad
got
to do it.
another episode coming out soon, so we will review that one. So look for the next episode, and a huge thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.